Right.
What was Tupac like to improvise with, to act with, to do a sketch with?
He's a brilliant, brilliant little actor. Um, knew himself very well on camera, boy. He really did. The thing that struck me about him was he was really humble and really nice to me. Like he didn't seem like, yo, what's up, man? He didn't seem like that to me. He was very, very humble and very
Mhm.
nice to me. He kind of was like kind of bashful.
So, first of all, I have to say that in addition to listening to your music and everything that you're doing now, of course, I had to read your book.
Mhm.
And
Oh, you
I read it
did? Thank
I
you.
I did. I read it in a day and a half.
It's a quick read.
Yeah, it's a quick read because it's good, and the thing that came to my mind, and I don't know if you believe in this, but I feel like there has been a guardian angel watching over you from day 1. Do you ever feel like that?
All the way to right now too.
Yeah.
I know it's true too.
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many things that have happened to you along the way that just saved you, and
Mhm.
it's remarkable. So, my first question is, growing up as a Black person in a Caucasian family with a Caucasian
Mhm.
mother,
Mhm.
what did that teach you, and what did it not teach you that you had to teach yourself?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
What it taught me was people who don't care about other people usually care more about material things and material progress and money and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What I learned myself is kind of a toughie, but I think it's true. What I learned is that white people are as loving, as creative, as genuine, as ingenuitive, as peaceful as any type of human being in this world. But for the last 400 years, they've been like that until they really want something.
Mm,
And when they
okay,
really want something, that all goes out the window.
okay. Okay, I get it, I get it. I have friends, I have one friend who has said to me, Europeans are utilitarian. When they see something that they want and they don't have it, they feel entitled to just go in and take it.
Mhm. But I learned something very key too.
What?
For me to look at it that way, that's a limited perception. I have
Right.
to add something to that. So I'll add this. It's not something that is really something that they do like, "We're gonna do this. We're doing this because we want to, and then we're doing this because we know we can." It's cultural. It has to do with the way that their culture came forward. We can say all we wanna say about peace and all this other stuff, but our culture was rooted in a continent that was plentiful. There's plenty of fruit. There's plenty of fish. There's plenty of meat. It was plentiful. That wasn't what came out of the culture that came out of Europe. The
Right.
weather was upside down compared to us. It wasn't tropical. It was cold. I mean, beyond cold.
Mhm.
Resources weren't there.
Right.
And so, you know, when you can pull up, let's say you can pull maybe two or three fish out of the water, and that's what you were dealing with, I don't know how much niceness you got in you. It's just
Good
something
point.
that grew out of that experience.
Yeah.
It's not something that they go in, well, this, that, and the other thing. No, it has to do with what was available.
That is a very elevated and wise perspective. you know, I get it. So when I read that your birth mom, her name is Tommy Jean Reed, that
Mhm.
she, I guess, out of sheer desperation, she left you in a garbage heap. Now, usually
Mhm.
when you hear stories like that, you hear about newborns being left. You were 2.
Mhm.
At 2, you kind of you don't know what's going on, but you're also not a newborn. Did you have any cognition or do you have any conscious memories
No,
of
not
that?
that not that are conscious. I do know that the only way I found out that that was a reality was I had went into I had went into some kind of deprivation therapy, and when I came out, the therapist knew
The therapist
from
told you?
the therapist knew that I had been left somewhere for a long time by myself.
Okay.
And so that's when I started asking my mother who raised me what really happened. And she finally told me. It was a tough process, but she finally told me what
At
really
what
happened.
at what age did she tell you?
18 months. And
Oh,
it probably was more like 14, no, more like 13 or 12 maybe, because I had been there for a while.
mhm.
I've been there for maybe a month. I was starved and, you know, dents in my skull. I've been beaten, all kind of stuff. So you had to go to the hospital and be there and they said, okay, he lived, you know?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you worked this I don't know if anyone else has ever brought this up to you, but there's an interesting connection here. You knew Tupac Shakur. You worked with him at one point on A Living Color. I don't know if you know what I'm gonna say, but he had that song, Brenda's Got a Baby.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know that song, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Does that song resonate with you? Because that song, in many ways, it describes kind of what happened to you when you were a baby.
I don't really know that song,
You
but
don't know the song?
nah, I don't really know that song. But the song that resonated with me was that sometimes of the black spiritual, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. There's this spiritual, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. And I remember when I was growing up, I was like, why does that song make me feel sad?
Okay.
You know?
Because you weren't a motherless child, but your birth
Mhm.
mother I mean, what does that do to your sense of self-worth?
Mhm. Well, I know that I was motherless of a black child. I mean, of a black
Black
mom,
Mhm.
because the white mom I had now was white. And I didn't even know that I was black. I thought I was brown. So, I thought she was beige or something. So when the
Yeah.
concept of black and white was introduced to me, I was like, really? Like I was broken in half, but that messed my whole spirit up because I
Yeah.
grew up around animals, on farms and stuff, and me and my sister saw a lot of litters. And if a cat was a black cat, it could have two gray ones, a white one, a brown one.
Yeah.
So I thought we were like that. I mean, we see a dog could be a gray dog. It would have three white ones, two black ones, a gold one, and a speckled one. So I thought we were like that. It wasn't until I was 5 years old till I moved to DC where the black kids beat us up repeatedly, call them up brother and sister, white cracker, and call me white cracker lover. So I
See
said to my mom, like, why they keep calling me white cracker lover? I like graham crackers.
yeah.
I didn't know what they were talking about.
Well, my
And that's
son
when she broke it down. Well, that's what,
yeah.
go ahead.
My
I'm
son
sorry.
had the same exact thing happen. When I read that, I was like, "Oh my god, that's exactly what my son said." Because
Oh, okay. So, I didn't have to say that. Yeah. Okay.
my son is biracial, right? And when he was a little boy, maybe 3, he came home one day and he goes, "Mom, what's a black person?" I said, "Okay, well, why are you asking me that? Like, what's going on?"
Right. Right.
He said, "Well, I'm not black." He said, I'm brown." He's like, "I'm brown and you're like peach, you're like tan." He's like he's like, "I don't understand why somebody called me black." And I had to explain, and the best thing that I could come up with was that it was a political term. I said it is
Mhm.
it's like a societal construct, right? Like I'm considered white and you're considered black, even though in reality I'm not exactly white and you're not exactly black. But he didn't understand. I had to explain it like several times. So when I read that in your book,
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, because it's like
Mhm.
you're thrust into the matrix at the age of 5, where you're
Right.
told like this is how society works and this is what
Mhm.
you are, even
Mhm.
though it doesn't make any sense in your little brain.
Right. My mom was interested in that. She said, "That's what people your color call people our color when they don't like them." And then when I got called nigger,
Mhm.
she said, "That's what our people call people that look like you when they don't like them."
Wow, that okay,
And
interesting.
that was like really clear, and I would like, well, who likes me? Just those people or you guys? Because I knew they loved me
Mhm.
and they weren't showing me no love over here. So it was a confusing time until I discovered the love of all of them. I'm so glad I did because I'm able to hand this book out into the world and not worry about what anybody thinks about it. I don't have to worry about anybody doubting it. All I want them to do is just read it and be changed
Yeah.
because I know they will.
And what made you get into, like, I guess I would call it, like, petty crime as a teenager?
Mhm, mhm. When was it?
No, why? Why?
That was the thing to do. I actually identified that with being black too.
Okay.
I said, "Well, they're doing it, you know?
Yeah.
This is what it is to be cool. I wanna be cool. I wanna be in with these guys. I wanna
Okay.
be in." And the thing that was popular was, "Hey, we're gonna steal, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get that, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get it." And what it made me realize is that that's not a black trait or a white trait or a blue trait. That's a poverty trait. Of course it's cool and accepted if you steal. If you're the Irish in New York City during the Industrial Revolution, of course it's cool to steal. If you're a Jewish teenager that's grown up in the ghettos of Europe,
Mhm.
'cause you can have nothing.
Right, of course.
You see,
Yeah.
they make movies about different racial groups as heroes during that
Right.
phase,
Yeah.
like The
Early
Godfather and Once Upon a Time in America, and there's all these movies that are about when that was them.
Mhm.
You see,
Yes.
and we haven't. Black males aren't the only males that have gone through that. Every male in this country has, because we're all from different parts of the world, and there ain't no part of the world that wasn't touched by poverty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I watch movies that where they show the 1920s and my people, the Jewish people, they show Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel stealing on the streets of New York. And yeah, absolutely. You make a good point. And do you think that you have to experience a very unique pain to gravitate towards comedy or to be a great comic?
I really don't know.
Mhm.
All I can tell you that I've been through some pain. That's all. You know,
Right.
I'd have to sit down with them, and say, okay, what about you? What about you? What about you? I don't really know because I don't really know everyone's background. You
Okay.
know,
But you
uh,
talk
you
to
know,
other comics, you guys talk,
yeah, yeah.
right?
There's some commonality there where we've all been through these experiences, but geez, I think the only way that I can compare that question is to pose that question to a woman. And if I pose that question to a woman, she'd say, hmm, I think we're all kind of maybe the same in that sense, you know,
What do you mean, in what way?
in that in the pain, it brought me to be this good at that or this good at that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that's just the more illustrative example that I can give.
Yes,
because they, as a group, go through a unique experience with pain that males don't.
absolutely.
You see what I mean? So I can only say, okay, well, if we're gonna do it that way, you know what I mean? Then I think it's kind of maybe everyone.
Mhm.
And I can, the only thing I can really distinctively say through my experience is to draw that comparison for comparison.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
female experience is rewarding, but very painful, like metaphorically and physically. So, yeah, I
You
get
see?
it. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, I know that that's true for me, but I know that all my comedy doesn't come through that. Probably the largest percent of my comedy comes from being able to be happy through all of that. There's a certain amount of there's a certain amount of optimism and radiance
Yeah,
that's come out of my life.
but optimism comes I feel like I've become more of an optimist after going through some traumatic experiences
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
because you build a resilience and you build a perspective,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm. Yeah.
Whereas if you've never been through
Mhm.
anything, you're like, you stub your toe and you're like, life sucks. You know what I mean? Like you
Right,
have
or if you've
things.
been through a lot,
Yeah.
you know, a whole lot, you buried 12 girls in your backyard or some crazy, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, you know, today's Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, we take the best we can from everything
Mhm.
and we call it is now, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. I want to ask you about Jada Pinkett Smith. Do you think that Jada Pinkett Smith is misunderstood as a woman? As somebody who's worked with her, knows her, and all that. Come on, like, because no, let me
Yeah.
no. Let me explain. Because I like her, and I'm
Uh,
really excited for her book to come out, and I don't understand why people don't understand her. So, can you tell me like how you feel about her?
yeah, I just love that girl. She's been one of my best friends and she's been there for me a lot. She was there the day I met my real mother.
Was she with you when you went to meet your
She was
birth
no,
mother?
she wasn't with me, but she knew something was wrong with me that day. I just came back from a trip. I met her. We're on the set, ready to shoot another scene. And she looked at me. She said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Nothing." She said, "Something's wrong with you." I said, Nothing wrong with me. Come on, let's go shoot. Let's go shoot the damn thing." She said, "No, something's wrong. Something looks different about you. I'm telling you, something's wrong." And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing's wrong." You know, cameras all around and people getting ready, you know. And she said, "Come here. What what did you do yesterday? What's going on?" I told her, "I met my real mother yesterday." She went, "Okay, thank you." She went, "That's a wrap for the day." She said, "Go home."
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wow.
She said, "Go home. Come back tomorrow. You can't just come here like that. No, go. You need to go home and just be with that."
Was that on the
You
set
know?
of Woo or Bamboozled?
Yeah. Woo.
That was on Woo?
Mhm.
And that was her movie, so that was like her star vehicle, and she shut down
Yep.
production for you.
Yep.
Wow, that's
Yep.
amazing.
And everybody, you know, that thing became that's why when, you know, any personal relationship becomes public, you know, everybody's gonna have an opinion, you know?
Mhm.
And it's one of the things that, you know, us as talents have to deal with if we get into that area, you know? I've had more negative experiences with Will than Jada, you
Okay.
know? But I've also had positive experiences with both of them,
Mhm.
and they both of them constitute being just human to me.
Right.
You know, when I found out that the reason why he wanted to fight me and I didn't know for 15 years or whatever why he wanted to fight me,
Mhm.
I found out that they both thought that I kissed her,
That you kissed
like
Jada on the
over kissed her
set.
in a scene,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
And Will was mad about that. And I didn't know anything about it because they wanted me to go and do a kissing scene. And I said, I'm not going to do that until me and Jada rehearse. We haven't rehearsed that. They're
Yeah.
like, we don't have enough time to do that. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it until she says it's okay to do. I'm not doing that without rehearsing. So they came back to my trailer and went, hey, she said, just go for it. And I was like, I ain't just going for it. I'm gonna just try to make it look real, you know?
Yeah.
And it was after that scene that he came to me like, I'm a, well, you know, want to do this to me. And I was like, man, okay, let's go outside then. And Jada was like, no. And I was like, well, tell him to leave me alone, man. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't until till I took that paragraph out of my book and sent it to them to read before I put it in the book, because if it wasn't true, I can't put it.
And they approved it.
And both of them called me back and said, yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. So I just want to quickly touch on, because you said that the 5th season of In Living Color was your favorite season.
Mhm, mhm,
Okay. And you and Jamie Foxx did a famous sketch with
mhm,
Tupac.
mhm.
You played the bouncer characters. So
Right,
forgetting everything else about that happened outside with the limo and everything else,
right,
w
right.
what was Tupac like to improvise with, to act with, to do a sketch with?
She's supposed to get the mic and stuff going stage. Girls be screaming and stuff, talking about keep your head up. Girls be hollering at you and
What
stuff.
they ain't doing? I ain't seen none of that.
Check this out, bro. I got a show to do, and I appreciate your attitude. You know, we can. Oh, I guess you're stepping to me, man. Why you? Oh, guys, don't do that.
He's a brilliant, brilliant little actor. Um, Knew himself very well on camera, boy. He really did. The thing that struck me about him was he was really humble and really nice to me. Like he didn't seem like, yo, what's up, man? He didn't seem like that to me. He was very, very humble and very
Mhm.
nice to me. He kind of was like kind of bashful. But hey, Mr. Davidson, I really admire your work, man. You really are. Like you really done it for me, man. I really appreciate. Like he was like that.
Yeah, he
He
was a
was like,
fan.
yeah, he was like, yo, you dope, dope. Nah, nah. He was like,
Yeah.
hey, I really appreciate you, man. Seriously, man. You're really something else. He was warm.
Was
He
that
had a
scene
real,
was it improv or was it scripted?
well, it was scripted. It was improv by us.
Right.
uh, you know, it wasn't. It was scripted, but we never did that.
Mhm.
But he could keep up.
Right.
He could keep up. You know, he
And
could definitely keep up.
did you know when you were making that show that you were making history, or was it just looking back in retrospect that you can see that you were making history when you were doing that show?
We all knew. We all knew. We
You
all had
really
been. We all had been in Hollywood for 6, 7, 8 years.
Mhm.
And Jim and them have been there for, you know, 12, 13, 14 years. So when we finally got together with this show, we knew what it would do because TV, movies, they didn't want that then.
Mhm.
They didn't want us doing that. That's what Robert Townsend's first movie was about how they miscast us or how they don't cast us, how they don't show us.
Yeah.
So that's why we knew if it got on the air, it was going to change everything. When it got on the air, we were happy because we knew it. Now, I don't think we knew what fame was. I know I didn't. None of us expected that. You can't predict that one or how you're going to react to that. You know,
But did you feel like it was the first time that Black creatives could take control of the narrative and feel empowered, and you could create comedy and you could laugh at yourself, but you were in the power position because you were controlling the narrative?
yeah, he put in that language, which is a contemporary language, yes, but it's coming from another connotation, which would be not a narrative. It would be not empowerment. It would be effort and skill and not divisiveness, effort, skill, and talent to overcome that.
Mhm.
You see?
Yeah.
And then we can land on those other words. what it really was a phenomenon whose time had come.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it was just, the Dutch boy can't hold the dam for so damn long. And what came out of it, I differ from others' opinion of that was blacks being able to, express themselves. No, that was blacks showing white America that we all have been laughing and will be laughing about the same things as long as we live here. Whites
Okay.
didn't feel comfortable laughing at that stuff until they lived in color. And blacks didn't feel like being that kind of funny in front of them.
Right. Right. So what was different about it?
But whites have been watching this from the very beginning laughing and wanting to laugh.
Right, but remember when Dave Chappelle said he walked off Chappelle's show because one day he was with the writers and he felt like they were laughing at him and not laughing with him? And it was something that was like really subtle, but it bothered him so much that he left the show.
Mhm.
So, what was that subtle shift, like that subtle feeling where you're like, okay, we're in the driver's seat, like we're in on the
Mm.
joke?
Mm. I'm going to say this, okay?
Okay.
I think there's a certain ego that European males experience at a certain stage of having relationships with us, where they kind of become a little bit uncomfortable of the fact that we have equal humanity. We're not outside of humanity like in some zoo. We're a part of humanity
And that's uncomfortable for them.
for some,
Okay.
for some.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. See, I'm not the one to be like, oh, I just this and just that and just that. Man, that little Jewish guy who rode in on that daggone donkey taught me a lot, boy. Not just him, though. You know, of course, they feel like that. Of course, they do. They're not in touch with the generations who had nothing. They're generations out from that. When they started operating, they already had something.
Mhm.
My mother used to tell me, yo, you're out there stealing with your friends, and you're stealing from people like us. Okay, so
Right.
you're not doing anything special. She said, you're stealing from people that work. Unfortunately, you're from a population that doesn't inherit any wealth. There's only three ways of making money. You work for it, you steal it, or you inherit it. You don't inherit anything as a group. Okay. Work can be scarce for you, and you damn sure ain't inheriting nothing. So when you end up in that mindset and you mistake that for race, you may feel a little insecure and inadequate when you work with somebody else who has maybe a higher status in the office, baby, who you're
They're
working for as opposed to the other way around.
they come with inherited wealth and inherited privilege. It's inherited.
I would say it's more of an inherited character.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, an inherited character. Will some of them take a sword, or will some of them take sticks and beat Native American babies down so that they can have their land right now? No, but we weren't that far back. We weren't living in those times.
Right. Okay. I get it. Were you always into jazz music your whole life?
My whole life, I was into music. Period. I got into smooth jazz when I was probably in my about 15.
Okay.
So it's a part of all of the music that is downloaded in me. But this is the part of music that I'm entering into because it feels right now. Any other area of music is so hard to get into and doesn't express where I'm coming from musically right now.
Mhm.
So I rather get in and fit in and not be in at all.
So with I Know, what was the creative process like with the writing, producing, recording, everything?
I just take a song that I love if I heard it before,
Mhm.
and I do it my way, and I do it with the best people. And then if I have an original come along, I'll sing it my way and do it my way.
Okay.
So basically, music has basically turned me into a recording artist and into a music person. And so I'm leaning on all of the good things that came from music that helped me to get it out there to this society to help people. There's not a lot of songs about, are you feeling okay today?
Right.
Are you satisfied with who you are and where you've been?
Mhm.
Dude, when is the last time you loved your fellow man? There's not those that ain't out there. It was when we were growing
Did
up.
you write the lyrics? You wrote the lyrics?
I did not. I did not. A guy named Tom Brown, who I heard his song when I was 15,
Mhm.
and I vowed to make it a song that was going to be on my album, and I did it.
Okay. Interesting. Because from what I saw, you put out singles. Are
Mhm.
you putting together an entire album?
Yes, but I want to roll out my singles at different times
Mhm.
because why put it on the whole album when they're just going to pick two and bang? I'd rather have most of them heard already, and then they can choose from the album what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. So before I let you go, and I am gonna hold you to a part 2 because I have other questions I
Okay,
wanna ask.
I got you. I
But
got you.
but you're on the Dark Matter tour right now. That's the comedy tour
Okay.
with Cat
Mhm,
Williams.
mhm.
How did that collaboration come about?
He asked for me. I never really knew him. Only
Mhm.
met him a couple times, and I'm so glad he did because he's the nicest person. Boy, he's taking care of me. We were going around the country, selling out everywhere. I'm home from Sunday through Thursdays, unless I got some other gigs. That's like a lifesaver for me. I got kids that are in school. I got a baby. It's like it's
Yeah.
good being home, being able to do my business, and be able to go on the road.
Okay. The dates go through December?
Go through December. Yeah, go to TommyDavidson.com.
TheTommyDavidson.com.
Yeah, there you go.
I know your stuff better.
All right.
All right, so I'll let you go and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Hug your boy for me.
I will. I will. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good one.
You can listen to this entire episode and other interviews of mine by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and downloading and subscribing to the Allison Interviews podcast.